welcome to my inaugural public video. This is the first one I've made that I'm actually going to release publicly, although this is technically my third video that I've made. The other two, you don't get to see. I started these projects making the videos mostly because my coaches, mentors, and my transgender therapist suggested that I find an outlet necessary to maybe help myself kind of deal with the changes that have been happening, as well as maybe possibly helping other people as well. So I find it a little exciting, and I've decided to kind of break out this first series of videos to make them short, obviously, because I'm not a very good videographer, if you will, so I don't know what I'm doing. There's no professional publications around here that are assisting me. This is more just kind of a project I'm doing for myself. So I decided that each video would probably surround around one major question that I've either had to answer for myself or that others have asked me that I've had to answer to them. So today's kind of episode is surrounded around the question of the whole why I decided to transition. And that's a very tough question. It's a long answer, and I'll try to keep it short and sweet. But I'd also think that that answer might be different for everybody. I don't think that it's necessarily going to be the same. But my answer really revolved around, it was about time. I've always been a woman. I may have grown my entire life presenting as a man, but it was not me. It's kind of like wearing a costume and playing a role. It never felt fully real. I wasn't unhappy. I can't say the same for other people in the trans community. I had a good life. I had a happy life. It was a lot of fun. I raised a family. I have children. I have a career. I've got long-standing education. I've even run for public office. All fulfilling things I think most people would be very happy about. And, I was too. But everything I did, there was always just something missing. Something was not there. It left kind of an emptiness or like a falsehood that I couldn't explain. And I spent my whole life trying to figure out what that was and why I felt that way. And despite all the things that I went and did, I couldn't answer that question. It wasn't until I started talking to other people and then eventually finding coaches that were in the community that were able to at least get me to explore a little bit deeper inside of my own mind and my own history to look for things that may have been indicators as to why I felt the way I did. So that helped tremendously, having that community outreach, having other people to at least bounce concerns off of. And anyone else out there who's currently going through this situation, I highly recommend that you find community leaders, a group, somebody you can confide in, your closest friend, even a family member, and try to talk it out, discover what's really going on. You might be trans, you might not be. You might be something entirely different. There's no way to know until you go and look. The indicators for me were definitely always there. They were always there, and I just ignored them. I think a lot of people in my situation have done the same thing. They kind of ignore that whole ordeal because it's scary. It's very, very scary. I started my transition officially in October of 2020. I hadn't really done anything as far as physical transformations. I did not start hormone therapy or anything like that. October was the day I finally broke my shell. I couldn't take it anymore. I was very, very distraught at not being me. The realization kind of hit like a sack of bricks. I went to bed the night before just an emotional mess because I just couldn't figure out why I felt so empty all of the time. I woke up the next morning and that was my aha moment. And I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I want to be me. I want to be the real me. So, plus, I wasn't super happy with the way I looked anyway. I was almost 300 pounds, pretty out of shape. Um, I'd gone to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Well, I mean, your blood pressure's great, and your cholesterol looks fine. Your triglycerides are through the roof. This is going to be horrible for you. You're going to have heart problems. You need to exercise. You need to reduce your stress. Cut a lot of certain foods out of your diet. And I didn't, of course. I spent years with high triglycerides and not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's because no matter how hard I tried, I never felt like it was going the direction I wanted it to go. And after talking to therapists in October, I understand why now. Like why I never felt compelled to eat right or exercise or take care of myself. And it's although I had a happy life and I wanted to be a part of my wife's life and I wanted to be a part of my children's life and I wanted to be a part of all of my friends and family's lives, I just didn't care. I didn't care what happened to me because it wasn't me. It's hard to care about something that you almost despise. And coming to the realization that I did in fact despise myself explains so much about why I acted the way I did, maybe the previous 10 years, and why it was so important to just finally admit that I wasn't being me. It was just a facade, if you will. So I've been seeking coaching and mental therapy since October of 2020. I don't believe I have any other mental problems other than dysphoria. And it wasn't really bad. I mean, I've met several people in the trans and LGBTQ plus communities where their dysphoria and even their self-hatred was far more advanced than my own. And I feel horrible for people who have to go through that, and especially those that have to go through that alone. That's probably the hardest part, is going through any of this alone. And I fear that so many have to go through this alone. And I want you to know you're not alone. You are not alone. There are literally millions of us out there, some closeted, some open, some in the progress of their transition, some haven't started their transition. You're not alone. There's literally people everywhere who are going through this exact same thing. And if they can't be your support structure, there's definitely going to be someone out there that can. I'll be your support structure if needed, although nobody knows who I am. That's fine. It was around, I think, the January time frame. I got to go home. I got to spend time with my family. Work keeps me away from my family for very long periods of time, so it makes it tough. And I got to go spend some time with my family and, really started opening up to my wife, which is a startling fact. I mean, she's known about this for quite some time. But she agreed with me that, it's time to go ahead and be my real self. It's time to go ahead and live the life that, I missed out on for 41 years. So we took a little coaching. It was tough for her, and I get that. I mean, it would be tough for anybody. But she has been probably my largest supporter and my rock through all of this. She sees the potential. She's very, very supportive in that regard. And we made the decision to go ahead and start the physical transition on top of my emotional and my mental transition. So I did. I talked to my therapist, I talked to my medical practitioners and said, I'm ready to be the real me. And, I have a holistic doctor that I talk to, and she is wonderful. As far as the kind of treatments like skin treatment, exercise regimens, vitamins, You know, a lot of people in the trans community who've gone through this probably already know. And for those that don't, because they're just getting started, it's a lot more than just hormone replacement therapy, particularly when you decide to transition at such a late stage in your life. You know, it's vitamins, it's, you know, good exercise, it's healthy eating, which, I mean, we should all be doing anyway. It's a lot of those things to begin that physical transition. It's good skincare. You know, if you don't have a dermatologist, please go get a dermatologist. Have them take a look. You know, if you're one of those guys that love to spend time out in the sun and your skin is just sun damaged all the time, that's a hard thing even for hormone replacement therapy to fix. That's something that you're going to have to go to a dermatologist to fix. And I was definitely one of those guys that I spent every waking moment, you know, without sunscreen, just out in the sun all the time, you know, getting burnt generally. You know, I had melasma, I had all kinds of things that needed to be addressed, as well as the hormone therapy. So I began the holistic treatment in January, prepping my skin. I stopped growing, you know, facial hair. I stopped growing body hair. I did try the laser hair removal, and I will say that it's very effective, and the doctors are doing it right, or at least the technicians operating the machine are doing it right. It's not super painful, so for anyone who out there is worried about it, if the person you're going to is good, it's not going to hurt, especially if you shave like you're supposed to before you get there. It's also really, really expensive. So you might just do your face or something like that, or you might your face and your neck because that's what's giving you the most dysphoria. You know, just take it from me. It's expensive. It's worth it, but it's expensive. It's also not going to like fix everything overnight either, so I'll give you that. But I started to go through my transition, you know, as far as the holistic and then the physical appearance. And in April, my doctor and my therapist finally agreed that yes, I think you're ready to start hormone replacement therapy, and they went ahead and prescribed the different medications and hormones that would be necessary to begin that physical transition. Most of this I'd spent really only coming out to my wife and maybe a few very, very close friends. I didn't come out to my family, I didn't come out to my parents yet, because it's scary. It's very scary. And I think it's okay to be scared. It helps you make better decisions. And I want everyone to know out there who's watching this, that's, you know, in that process, you're not going to win everybody over. You're not. You're going to lose people. But I think you're going to realize who your real friends and family are in that process very quickly. As the changes kind of started happening, you know, from April, I got about a month in, you know, I started noticing it in my eyes. You know, I wish I could throw a picture up here in the corner for you to see kind of what I looked like before, but I don't know how to do that. Or maybe I can get someone to help me edit this later and just kind of stick the before picture up there for you to kind of look at. The eyes changed pretty quickly. Nothing else did. Like, I still had 5 o'clock shadow all the time. My forehead looked wrinkly as crap. You know, would grow a beard in less than an hour. It was very, very disheartening, and obviously it causes the dysphoria to be that much worse. However, the eyes definitely changed, and other things started to change. You know, my arms were not quite as muscular as they were. I lost a ton of weight. You know, I went from almost 300 pounds to, oh God, I was like 260, 255 by the April time frame, and kept on going, obviously, which is great. It makes me very happy that I'm not a fat blob anymore. But there were starting to be enough noticeable changes that I had to really come to terms with coming out to everybody. Because at some point they're just going to start noticing. May rolled around, and I started, you know, getting some more time off to go back and see family and see my kids and spend some time. And, you know, I was letting my hair grow longer. You know, it's very, very long right now, and I love it. Um, this was extremely noticeable to people, and I did get questions, and I was too scared to answer those questions for a lot of people. I knew my reasons why, but it was hard to come up with a way to tell other people my reasons why, like why this was happening, where the changes were coming from. Obviously from the hormones, but I let it go, and I kind of let it go until I hit around my 4.5 month mark, um, being on hormone replacement therapy, and the changes now are so definitive that it is very, very hard to convince people otherwise that something is not going on. And I think the way hormones work, I'm not a doctor, at least not a medical doctor, is it's different for everybody. I didn't have anything going on in the chest area or even really the body area. Probably what I felt the whole time, the first 3.5, almost 4 months. It, to me, didn't look like anything was going on there. Most of the changes were just happening in my hands, my feet, and my face. Um, Stuff that's pretty easy to hide, except for maybe some of the facial feature things. I hadn't begun really to work on my voice except for about 2 weeks ago, because obviously my deeper voice, which it can be very deep, is very dysphoric. It bothers me, so I'm working on changing the pitch and inflection. And I don't think I'm ever going to have a super high pitched, very feminine voice, and I'm not too worried about that. I am seeking coaching on that for now, to just kind of work on it and get the techniques down. But I think at that point I really needed to start coming out to people, to give them the why. And I came out to everyone. I came out to friends, I came out to colleagues, I came out to coworkers. Obviously started coming out to family. My sister has known for a long time, my younger sister. I'm pretty sure that my younger brother kind of figured it out himself. But everyone else was definitely a very huge surprise. It was a massive surprise. And sometimes they'd said and did very hurtful things. And I want people out there to understand that that's to be expected. No one's going to just be like super happy for you right off the bat. Now, there were people who were. They're like, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. You're so courageous. I didn't feel courageous. I just felt real. And I mean, if that's courageous, great. But it was also very painful. My mom, when I came out to her, was a little scary, I think, for the first day or two. But it ended up being great. And I think I'm one of the lucky ones that I have parents that didn't lose their minds. I don't think that's very common, honestly. My brother was very supportive. Both my sisters have been very supportive. And I'm very happy about that. Out of all of my work colleagues and friends, and I did have a lot being, in the business industry and running my own companies before, I would say 75% have detached themselves from my life at this point. And about 25% have stuck around just because, they're happy for me. They may not fully understand, or maybe they do, but at least they're happy for me. And that's a good thing. The other 75%, I don't know, maybe some of them will come around one day, but it's doubtful. It's doubtful, and it hurts. It does. I've cried a lot over that, but I'm starting to get over it. That's why I'm making these videos for other people. And that's what I hope for the future of these videos. I know it's probably boring, and I'm not the most flighty, happy, girl. And I'm probably not ever going to be. Definitely girly, but just not like super OMG, yay. I don't think that's ever been my personality anyway. I was not a, Cali girl, and I was definitely not a cheerleader type person, even when I was younger. I was more of like the dork that kind of walked around. I liked Dungeons and Dragons and playing Magic the Gathering and whatever. But I'm hoping that I will have other questions that I will try to answer for folks. And if people leave comments in the bottom of the video with questions that maybe they're interested in hearing, I will definitely try to answer those. And although I know I'm going to get disgusting, negative, trolly comments, it's just inevitable. I won't give them any credence. I don't care what negative things you have to say. So if you want to post something stupid or disgusting or whatever, knock yourself out. Most likely YouTube's probably just going to remove it anyway. Or whatever video service is going to host this. So I'm very glad I got to share this experience with all of you and kind of my why, like why now? And trust me, it's not been easy. I think the next video I'll try to focus on what the results of starting my transition at over 40 years old has kind of progressed to. And obviously, as time moves on, you'll get to share my changes right along with me. Like I said, this is about 5 months right here. And if I can find a video editing technician to stick my old ugly mug up here in the corner, you'll see that it does have a significant impact. But yeah, I'm happy to share this journey with all of you, and we can go from there. Until next time, though, y'all have a wonderful day, and see you soon.